Here we are. That's a tap. Welcome everyone to the UFC 273 wash up, dust up, post recap. Look ahead with DJ. What an event, DJ.
Oh man,
it lived up.
It was a crazy event. It lived up. Look, being a Volkov fan, look, I'm a very happy camper. Seated here today. I enjoyed that card thoroughly. I was a bit late to the party in terms of watching the card, so I had to go and rewatch a couple of those fights. But man, like there was an insane fight of the night in that card, and then also the main event was just a one-side domination. A little bit of controversy in that core main event, a bit. It went against all our predictions and also the odds makers as well. I mean, whoever put a bet on Aljamain Sterling sitting in a big pile of money at the moment. So, look, great card. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Sometimes there's sleeper cards where you don't have too many of these fights, so you can expect, fireworks or the card to deliver. It was a very main card heavy performance. I felt the main card did really well. So what was your favorite fight of the night?
You know what? It's got to be the main event.
Yeah.
I gotta say the main event because that would have been the biggest one that would have thrown a big spanner in the works.
Yeah.
The other two, bigger fights, we sort of knew, okay, like there's a possibility of something could throw, spanner in the works. But if Volkanovski lost, that would have been obviously a disaster. So the way he handled his business and the way he did it, But certainly the Hamzat, Gilbert, that fight just had me like standing up. Like I couldn't actually sit down.
No, I agree. It was a barn burner that fight. I agree with you. The main event, but what a masterclass by Volkanovski. Goes in and shuts Korean Zombie down in a way that no one's ever shut him up. I think Joe Rogan said it in the broadcast straight after. He's like, Volkanovski went out there and did a seminar on MMA, and exactly what it was. Wherever it didn't even like go to the ground too much, but from a striking perspective, it was clean, crisp striking, extremely fast, extremely powerful, extremely accurate. I mean, you got to start asking the question, how good is Alexander Volkanovski, right? We talk about Kamaru Usman in this pound-for-pound list, but I think, Volkanovski is doing enough to take that top spot. He's fought the best of the best. If you look at the division that he's cleared out, featherweight's no easy task, You got that, phenom in Max Holloway, and he fought him twice. Say what you may. Right, he's 2-0 against Max Holloway, one of the greatest, fighters in the UFC roster. And then you got, and he's also taking out all these number one contenders, like even in the rise to the title contention. Right, he was beating the likes of Aldo and Chad Mendes and all these top contenders. Right, and he's as a champion, he's saying, bring the next best guy forward. I'll smash him. Right, like he did accept the Max Holloway fight. He's still saying, I'll fight. Like he doesn't have to. Right, I think so. You need to start asking that question: how good is Alexander Volkanovski? I mean, personally, in my pound-for-pound list, I'll put him at the top, right? And he's now talking about going up to lightweight, which is very interesting, and I like that for him because I think he matches up well with some of the guys. It is not an easy division to go into, right? But if he were to move up and successfully get that title too, that argument puts him easily as pound-for-pound number one, because if you look at the top three guys who are hovering in that pound-for-pound conversation at the top, it's Kamaru Usman, we got Israel Adesanya, and then we got Alexander Volkanovski, two people from our region. That's a proud moment. But and then the only thing all three of them are lacking at the moment to have that conversation is that double champ status. Right? It's been elusive. Adesanya tried, obviously, unfortunately, was successful, but now we know Volkanovski's talking about it. I think maybe the timing is right. Maybe, I don't know how soon. Volko wants to fight 2 more times. That's exciting news for all of us, right? Let's get him in there. I think in terms of the fight itself with Zombie, there was not much to really unpack. It was just a one-side domination. It's Volkanovski going in and then showing off. That's what it was. I know it was a short notice fight, but Zombie had an opportunity to prepare for this fight, but Volkanovski is in a different level. Like he said, there's levels to this game, and he proved it last night. I can't see anyone in featherweight even coming close to it.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think? What do you think, CD, is next for Alexander Volkanovski?
I guess you raise a tough question. He's clearing out the division.
Yeah.
He's done what he needs to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him really give Holloway another chance.
Mhm.
Not that he, like you said, he needs to.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he's proven that.
Mhm.
But just for the argument's sake,
Yeah.
if he were just to beat Holloway again,
Yeah.
the legacy is there cemented. Even the haters can't really hate on that. And then I'd like to see him obviously beat move up.
Yeah.
He's done what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Ortega.
Yeah. He's cleared out the division pretty much.
Zombie. I mean, like, who else is there really? I mean,
you can argue Calvin Kattar's there, but I mean, if Volkov were to beat Holloway again, okay, that argument kind of stops there because we saw what Holloway did to Kattar, and look, obviously people change after a fight, but I just don't think none of the other featherweight fights excite me other than him going up. But it's a tough division to go into. You've got the likes of Oliveira, Gaethje, right, Dustin Poirier. Could you thinking of Volkov facing off against them? I mean, it is a tough task, Islam Makhachev, right? So it's a big division to step into. But look, he's as he mentioned, he's undefeated in lightweight too. Let's not forget that he fought in 4 divisions across his fighting career. He's fought in middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, and now featherweight, and he's undefeated in the UFC. It's not easy feat. So let's give the champ his respect. I think enough with booing him and all that. This man is one of the greatest fighters around at the moment. Let's start respecting him and let's put some respect on that name. I'm excited to see what it is. I do strongly think it's going to be the Holloway fight. I do, unless somehow Henry Cejudo jumps in. He's saying he wants to come back and fight featherweight, but I can't see him beating Volkanovski. It's his work ethic too.
Yeah,
he's always sharpening his tools and he's always in the gym. So
like a lot of people saying too on social media, he looks big for a featherweight. He's always dropped weight to be in his class, so he has that advantage. Whereas not many people can be that naturally that much bigger and then drop that much weight to fit in the featherweight. So that's why I think when he cuts weight and then he's able to put a huge amount of weight back on, that just gives him that strength, that advantage.
So too,
I think he just striking game. I just don't see another featherweight being able to touch him.
No, and I think you got to mention his discipline as well. To be a natural welterweight or a natural welterweight, and to be able to continuously come down to featherweight and perform the way he performs shows the discipline in terms of his weight management, even during the off season. So he's definitely committed to his craft, and I think he's a great fighter, a great champion, right?
Yep.
Look, I'm going to put my money on the Holloway fight next. For Volkanovski, because Holloway's cleared now to fight. Highly unlikely they're going to book another fight for Holloway. Right? Volkov's saying he wants to fight 2 more times, so where is that? That's maybe one in August and one in December, maybe, right? So
but 2 more times in the division.
He wants to fight 2 more times this year.
This year. Yeah.
So maybe he beats Holloway.
Yeah.
And then he goes up and challenges the lightweight title because I feel by then we'll have a little bit more clarity in the lightweight division too. Because obviously Gaethje is fighting Oliveira next month, and we'd know who owns the title, and they'll most likely face off against Islam for the next shot. Or if they're going to do the Islam versus Dariush, like Dana said, then they might just book that Volkanovski fight because it's a big fight. Anytime there's a champion versus champion fight, it's a big fight for the UFC because it doesn't happen as often, and it's prime. He's the right guy to do it. So I think the UFC will push it. One thing, CD, that I was disappointed was that when in the post-fight press conference, they were asking Dana White about, what about an event now that we have such a dominant champ and we got the likes of Adesanya, Whittaker, and all of these people, why don't we go back to Australia? And then he shut it down straight away.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't see it. What did he say?
He said, look, most likely not this year, because he's like, they're still locked down. We're not. And I think, people need to start telling him that. He's like, the F1 got shut down because of COVID. That's fake news, you know.
Oh.
Who's giving him this fake news? Like if F1's been going fine. So look, hopefully Dana White, someone convinces him. Volkanovski said he himself is going to go convince him. So let's put that in his mind.
Yeah.
Let's bring it down to Mum. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. June 5th, there's a boxing fight going on. You know, Cambosis versus Devin Haney. How are they doing it if the city is shut down?
Yeah, 50,000
You know what I mean?
Marvel, the stadium that he likes to.
Exactly. Like, you know, no one's ever done what us Melburnians did at UFC 243. So I hope he remembers that, and then, you know, let's come back here and let's back another stadium.
Yeah.
And let's put a good card. You know, like last time there was a couple of good fights, but overall the card was stacked. We'd like a stacked card, you know.
Thai Bam Bam Tuivasa as well.
Pack everyone in there.
Hooker, I mean, Paul Hooker pleases the UFC on so many short notice fights, right? He flies around, he quarantines and that. Put on a showdown here with Izzy.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Kai Kara France is big now.
So many.
Jimmy Crute should be fit by then.
All these number one contenders and future prospects right here in this region. Let's get this done. You know, Dana White.
Let's email him.
Come out of your bubble, Dana White. Melbourne's not shut down. Melbourne's functioning normal. That's it. All right. Now, that brings us to the core main event, right? So we had the much anticipated rematch between Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan, or should I say Piotr Yan? I'm just gonna keep calling him Yan. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Initial reactions. What are your thoughts?
Look, initial reactions was shock. Was shocked because of look, I thought, you know, Yan started really comfortable, right? I thought he started well, and I was expecting him to really, you know, put on a show.
Yeah.
But a credit to Aljamain.
100%.
Shocked, and like you said, a lot of people would have lost some money.
Yeah.
Because you know, he lost some respect last time, even though it was a DQ. You know, people just thought, oh, Jan's just too strong anyway.
Yeah.
But I always like it when a fighter finally gets their chance,
and
DJ. And they wait, and then they finally, you know, they do it.
Yeah. And now sitting here on this side of it, I mean, obviously, I know we predicted, you know, Jan to actually finish him, right? And we were expecting a one-side domination. And look, you know, even the Vegas odds said the same. But look, now sitting on this side, I can't help but appreciate what Aljamain's done in this past weekend, right? To have that pressure constantly, everyone writing him off, like, you know, us, the other fighters, and there's a lot of commentary on sort of how he handled it. I mean, look, it doesn't change the fact that how he went about with that act after winning the belt, still, like, it wasn't necessary. That's what brought about the hate. I don't think, not necessarily the DQ thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously the rematch took so long to happen. But look, it came. I don't think the fight was a robbery by any means, right? Because I can see people arguing both ways, and I saw on verdict, you know, it was a razor close decision for Aljamain, right? I think it all came down to the first round. One thing that we can all agree on is 4 and 5 were Peter Yan, Piotr Yan, right? And then 2 and 3 were clearly Aljamain. But worth noting though, the 2 and 3 were absolute shutouts by Aljamain Sterling. Like, it was there was a total ground control time of almost 9 minutes between those two rounds, and it was dominant ground control. It was just Yan couldn't do much, right? And then Aljo was controlling him. Look, you know, when he was trying to go for the finish, people may argue, look, sometimes there were intervals where nothing happened, but he's still controlling him down there, and he couldn't, you know, he couldn't get out. So I think I personally thought they were clearly 10-8 rounds. Yeah. And if you consider those two 10-8 rounds, even if you give the first round to Yan, you still are finding Aljamain winning with a total percentage, right? So, look, it wasn't a robbery. It could have gone either way, right? I mean, Aljamain Sterling was the champion coming into the fight. We know everyone had wrote him off, and for him to come and do that was great. I think he implemented his game plan well. I think the thing was waiting for him to slip, and they get his back. That's it. That's exactly what he did in round 2 and 3. Round 1, I'll rewatch it again. I muted it this time and to watch it again. It was very even. It's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. Look, I don't know, maybe the first time I was watching it, I gave it to Yan because, look, let's be honest, maybe everyone was thinking this, that everyone wanted Yan to win.
Yeah.
Because they felt like there was this massive disservice done to that division, and then Jan's the rightful champ, and he has. And I think it was a bit of a slap in our faces too, And then now we sit here and we think about it. So I think, look, it was a good performance, solid performance. He went out and did what he did just well. He didn't try and do something he couldn't do, which is a striking department where he knew he was lacking.
Yeah.
He was obviously touching up here and there, but he realized ground is where his game is at, and then he did it. And look, you got to believe certain things, right? He was saying, hey, look, last time I was not feeling myself. I was, not feeling nourished enough for the fight, and I couldn't hold him down. I didn't have the strength and all that thing. And now you got to start believing it, right? Because this time, this 2 and 3, he held him down. He didn't let Peter Yan get up. He took him down and controlled him down there. So, like, how much of this neck surgery is not accurate? You got to believe that, right? So, I think whatever is said and done, Aljamain Sterling is now the job. I know Dana White said the decision he was expecting it the other way.
Yeah.
Again, look, that's been the story for this fight after the fight, and everyone's got mixed emotions about it. But he's looking on to his next defense, I think, which is going to be TJ Dillashaw. It's a good fight, right? Yeah. If Aljamain's able to go and beat TJ Dillashaw, another big name in the division, former champion, that puts a big stamp on his championship reign. Yeah. I personally think maybe Aldo should go back. Not Aldo, sorry. Jan should go back and rematch Aldo, because Aldo's coming off a dominant win against Rob Font, right? So if Aldo's now able to beat Jan again, then he could claim stakes for that title shot again, right? But I just honestly think stylistically it's a nightmare for Aldo, because they're both strikers and would good kickers, and kickboxing is style than Muay Thai, and Jan's just good at that. You just can't. I feel the fight will go the same way the first fight went, and then we'll find Jan back in that title contention and maybe fighting the winner. It's interesting now that the bantamweight division's always been interesting, right? There's also another big question that comes to mind is, I think, Marab, who's another bantamweight contender, is ranked 5th, I think, and he'll probably fight someone. And him and Aljamain are really close, right? What if he wins his next fight? You've got to argue that he's got that title shot as well. How do you work that out? You know what I mean? Very interesting things. I don't think Aljamain is big enough for featherweight. He can't pull up. Yeah. Right. So it's bantamweight is his division. So there's a lot of interesting questions, but all good questions, right? To have good problems to have. So interesting times for the bantamweight division.
Yep. No, absolutely. You said it. And look. Do you think, what's surprising to me is that you don't think that Jan would be eligible or should be eligible for a rematch straight away? Like, normally when you've held the title that long, does the champ is the next fight not running it back?
Yeah, look, obviously the rematch is warranted. I think he called for the rematch straight away. Jan's like, I won this fight, give me that rematch. But, let's not forget, Peter Yan has only had, since he won the title against Aldo, he's only defended it to Aljo, where he lost the title. Right? So he's only he's only defended it once, which is where he lost by DQ, right? And then he fought obviously Sandhagen and won the interim championship. Let's not forget that Peter Yan went into this fight as an interim champion.
That's right. Okay.
So both times that he's lost that. Right? So he's lost to Aljamain Sterling twice now, and this time in a more legitimate manner. Look, Peter Yan could stay and sort of argue the fact that he would have won, and a lot of people will be with him, including Dana White. But it's also his fault that he let that happen as well. If why leave it to the judges? You know what I mean? I know it's easier said than done, but the round 2 and 3, I can find the round 3 was a repeat of round 2. Right, so I think even his coaches were a bit frustrated with him. His corner was frustrated with him. What he kept doing the same thing, where when he's trying to take down in order to defend that, he gives his back, and to someone like Aljamain Sterling, you don't do it, right? So the decision was warranted. So look, that's co-main. Brings us to the fight of the night, fight of the year so far, to be honest, man. Which is Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev, right? The people's main event of this card. Everyone was excited. Chimaev, massive hype. massive superstar already in the organization, comes in, right, fights his toughest opponent here. I'm going based off the rankings. Number 2 ranked, Gilbert Burns. And Gilbert Burns is no easy fit. The amount of disrespect shown to Gilbert Burns for this whole lead up was insane, because let's not forget, Gilbert Burns fought the champion, the current pound for pound number 1, and also rocked him in that first round.
Yeah.
Right? Some people argue that he won that first round.
Yeah.
And then he's been with the top contenders in that division. So, he's a tough dude, and he showed why he's tough. And he's a great fighter. He's a great striker. He always comes forward. I think my initial reaction as soon as I watched that fight was I was very disappointed. I was on board this hype train. I was wanting Hamzat to go in and blitz him. That's what I was expecting, and I wasn't expecting this fight to go any more than a round, and I was expecting utmost domination. And then when the fight ended, I was like, oh man, sort of the hype's gone now. It doesn't feel like that this is the Hamzat that we were talking about. We were talking about the next Khabib here, next McGregor, and all that. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not that. But then now a day removed, and I've also been able to watch the fight. I mean, I think he's a victim of his own success. Let's not forget, this guy started MMA only 4 years ago, right? He's only had 4 fights in the UFC, right? 10 fights in total, right? He's still young. He's still new to this game. He's got a lot of passion. He's got a lot of drive. He's got a lot of heart. And, I think, it's partially it's our fault for expecting so much. He's new. This guy, 4 years in the UFC, comes in and beats the number 2 ranked welterweight, right? I think that's a feat in itself. Absolutely shut out the first round. He definitely won that first round. It was a 10-9 round. It was in no way a 10. There were no 10 rounds there. Second round was a total dominant round for Burns, while Hamzat had its moments. I thought that man, some of the shots that Burns was landing, that the last one that sat him down was a savage shot, and then he almost connected with the illegal kick, right? And that would have ended that fight right there. So lucky that didn't go through. It was a crazy round. I think round 2, a lot of people are saying round of the year so far, even already in April. And then round 3 was where it was like a back and forth. Again, I muted it, still couldn't figure out who won, because I feel like they both had output. They both had moments in that round.
It was very neutral.
As soon as I saw the first time, I think I texted you and I said, hey, I think Burns won that fight. I'm giving it to Burns 3-2. Sorry, 2-1, given Burns took 2 and 3. And I rewatched it and I'm like, that last round is actually too tight. So if anything, right now my mind's at 1 Hamzat, 2 Burns, and 3 a draw, right? Which makes it, a draw the whole fight. But, look, he's won. That's exciting. I think this fight's going to make him a better fighter. I think he's going to go back to the drawing board. I think he could use the word to an extent humbled. He was very confident and cocky going into the fight. And, rightfully, he's skilled. He's very good. He went toe-to-toe with the number 2 welterweight. Right? We need to give that credit. And he himself said, look, I didn't expect him to be that tough. And that's what it is. When you come to the top of the division, that's what you're going to get. Right? And they're talking about Colby next for Hamzat. Right? So you just got to... But I think this has been that wake-up call. Right? If he had blitzed it through or got a shot and knocked Burns out, he's still going to ride that confidence and go in and then maybe meet someone like a Usman. Because before going into this fight, when he was calling the likes of Usman and the likes of Adesanya, I was like, oh man, it's scary for those guys, It's going to be a tough fight for Usman. It's going to be a tough fight for Adesanya. But now, after seeing this fight, look, he needs to improve a little bit more, work on stuff more. Because as it stands, I don't think he's ready for Usman. No. I don't think he's definitely not ready for Adesanya. And I mean, now I'm even starting to question, I could be proven wrong, but how does he fare with? We're talking about the middleweight division now. Forget about Adesanya. How does he fare in the top 5? Look, against the likes of Vittori, against the likes of Robert Whittaker. These are savages, right? Like Paulo Costa, I feel like will just come forward and smack. So it's a scary thought. But look, he's going to improve. He's young. He's new to the game. He's young. He's going to improve. What did you like the most about that fight?
I love the fact that he gave his best shot, and Burns could prove that he could take it a bit. I think Burns showed a lot of pride. You know, obviously losing the way he did to Usman, getting put down, and just being humbled. Burns really could tell he just, for his pride, for his Brazil supporters, he was like, I'm not letting, whatever happens, I'm not letting Hamzat embarrass me. Like I'm gonna die here, and 100%. And finish the 3 rounds.
100%. I couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah, and I think that to your point about Hamzat and being slightly disappointed, I think Hamzat came in a bit too cocky. I think, okay, he's steamrolled no names, let's be honest. But this is the second guy, and I feel like the reason he got clipped a lot is because he basically didn't even cover up. He was just like, he's like, I'm going to try and take you. I'm like, man, this is a second-ranked guy. Like, have some respect.
He rocked him so many times. I think Burns rocked him so many times. And you're right. I was so surprised. You know, we were like talking about Hamzat's strength and being such a bigger guy, having fought at middleweight, knocking out Gerald Miesha, that first shot. We were thinking, will Burns be able to withstand a shot? And Burns answered in style. He kept coming forward. Man, Burns was like that. I'll be honest, I have now become a massive fan of Gilbert Burns. I don't think he lost last night. Like, I don't think... some people argue like he won in the fight as well, but I'm just saying in terms of stock, he didn't lose any. I think a lot more people are fans of him. And here's the most interesting thing. This was they were fighting in his hometown, obviously. His adopted hometown, Florida. And he was booed when he was, coming out, when he was being introduced, because obviously Hamzat is such a big star at the moment. Everyone wants to see him. And then at the end of the fight, I don't know if you noticed, when they announced the winner, the crowd were booing Hamzat. They were cheering Burns. That tells you a massive story, right? I think Burns did extremely well. It was again not a robbery by any means. If the decision had gone the other way, it would have still been acceptable. That's what I think. But now brings the big question. Like, so we got Colby next. Definitely not Usman. I don't think they'll push for that. I think the timing is going to work out well because Usman's going to fight around in July. Right. And then most likely Hamzat will fight again in September, something. And then maybe if he wins, then they do a showdown in December, right? But man, like, Usman's in a different league. After seeing that, you can't do that with Usman. No. You can't even do that with Colby. I mean, he got tired. I think there was a lot of adrenaline dump. Let's not forget, this is the first time he's fighting in front of a capacity crowd. Right. He did fight in Abu Dhabi again, but that was against outside the top 10 opponent. Right. It was 11th ranked Li Jingliang. So and then he was hyped up and all that, and he finished it quick. But this time the fight went further. We saw that. We saw him tired. Right, at parts he was like walking just with his hands down, like you said, and he was taking. And Burns was swinging, man. Burns was swinging with bad intention. So, but look, massive, great fight. If I have someone who I have to make them become an MMA fan, that's one of the fights I'll show them. I'll put that fight on the same shelf as Poirier Hooker. Whaley Joanna, which they've done the second one, and it's in Singapore. You're going to be front row, so it's going to be exciting. And then, obviously, there was a few other fights. There was Mackenzie Dern, Tisha Torres. It was a lot of controversy in that too. A lot of people arguing that Tisha Torres actually won, but there was a robbery. But then again, it seemed to be the theme of the night is that one fighter seemed to have this 1 or 2 dominant rounds, which overshadows the fight. So same thing that happened. Second round, Mackenzie Dern had a very dominant round. It was tough. Like, I mean, look, I wasn't too fussed with what the decision was. But look, Dern winning, I guess, is good because it's sort of, she's another future prospect that UFC has been banking on. So, and then there was another fight, the main card opener, Madsen versus Pichel. Again, it was a decision. Madsen won. Hey, did you realize the Rosenstrike fight was crap? I didn't even see it. I didn't realize it.
I saw the day before. I was going to message you.
What was the reason behind it?
Tabura had an undisclosed illness. So they didn't say COVID. So, I mean, normally they would say COVID, but quite possibly a family I don't
It could be.
I don't know.
Could be an emergency. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I was like, hey, hang on.
Yeah.
When is Rosenstrike fighting? And I'm like, oh, it's not there. Ian Gary won.
Yeah.
Right decision as well. Look, not sort of all the hype and the talk again. Not the performance didn't translate to that, but again, still a win. Right? It was a win. It was a unanimous decision, rightfully so. We had our old dog.
Oh,
Alexei Olenek winning
Boa
his
Constrictor
60th win.
Oh.
Could you imagine that? Like
Yes.
what a fighter. Maybe you should call it now on a high.
Yeah.
Right. But let's see. It's unbelievable to see he's still
What
fighting.
is he, 45 or something?
Oh man.
So Glover, him and Glover would be
But that's why it makes the Glover's feat massive, right?
yeah.
In winning at that age. And
Yeah.
now he's fighting Yuri
Yeah,
Prokaska.
for people like Overeem that really wanted to stick around just to try to get back up,
Yeah.
you know, doubted because of their age. Like you said, Glover actually achieved that.
Glover's the only one. Yeah, I think they spit out a fun fact yesterday, just before the main event fight, is most number of days between title fights.
Yeah.
Right, and then Zombie had the highest. I didn't realize Zombie had actually fought for the title prior. He fought Aldo for the title. Obviously lost. This was when Aldo was running mayhem in that division, right?
Yeah.
And then I think Glover was one of them. And then Glover was the only one to have won the title after having an unsuccessful attempt and having a big gap and then coming back. So it's good. Look, good feel-good story. Look, big card coming up next as well, right? Exciting. Anytime there's a lightweight title fight, man, guaranteed it's going to be fireworks.
Oh yeah.
Oliveira is building up to be this formidable champ, formidable fighter. I'll become a fan, man. Like I love his fighting style. I love his rising against all odds. Interesting matchup with Justin Gaethje, so one of the two uncrowned champs, such to say, in the division, right?
Yeah.
You got Poirier, and then you got Gaethje. I saw somewhere they said, like, if Oliveira beats Gaethje and then he goes on to beat Islam later in the year, he's undoubtedly the lightweight GOAT, not Khabib. But I agree. I think that's true.
Yeah.
Great fight there. We got a good main event. Rose Namajunas comes back. Always a super technical fighter. Tony Ferguson. They seems to be the theme of the UFC, right? They're putting like an exciting fight as the third fight in a main card. Like we had Hamza and Gilbert here, and then they're putting Tony and Chandler. Man, I'm worried for Tony though. It's a bad fight.
You might prove that he's still got a lot left.
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine if Tony gets the win? What do they do from there? You know what I mean?
Things have happened.
Could you imagine that? Like if Tony's been quiet. Right? I have Tony on social media, and then when I say I have him on social media, he doesn't follow me back. We don't follow him. Could you imagine? Like he's been quiet, uncharacteristically quiet on social media because he's always putting something out. Either he's getting really good and he's going to be like his complete surprise package. I don't know, but look, obviously, love a Tony win. Right? It's nice to have Tony back in the picture, right? At least for the sake of that McGregor fight, I'd love a McGregor Tony Ferguson fight, right? But man, Michael Chandler is no easy task. Michael Chandler is not. It's great. But we'll obviously break down the fight a lot more closer to the card, but initial thoughts is that all odds favor Michael Chandler in that fight. He's a pressure fighter, comes forward, can take a shot, took a shot with Gaethje, but he couldn't take a shot with Oliveira. So his fight game's unpredictable. And then again, that co-main, I favor Rose. Obviously, I personally like Rose a lot. I think she's a fantastic fighter. She's one of my favorites. Main event, you know what, man? I'm gonna say the champ. It favors the champ. Yeah, Oliveira. Let's put some respect on that name too.
Definitely.
He's shown it, right? He's ready to fight. 15 or 16 fight win streak. Let's not forget that. Has a pound for pound ratings come out yet? I don't think so. I'm excited to see if they actually bump Volkanovski up to number one.
Okay. Yeah. No, last I heard it was 2.
He's still 2.
Yeah, still 2. But we'll see. We'll see. I think they obviously really, really like. Who's number 1?
Yeah, Usman.
He's had a lot of title defenses. So
that's the thing. He's lapping the division too. So I mean, Volkov's had 3 title defenses now.
Yeah,
He's got 3.
exactly. Yeah, like I said, just go through Holloway again and just defeat your biggest arch rival again.
Yeah.
And then there's no argument.
Yeah,
He's king of featherweight.
100%. Could you imagine if McGregor comes back and says he wants to fight featherweight?
Oh,
and then Volkanovski.
I think he's going to struggle cutting that kind of weight.
I think so too. I mean,
he's too big now.
Got a lot bigger. I think he's going to struggle getting to lightweight.
Yeah. He's a welterweight now, I think.
Oh wow, a lot of. But could you imagine though? And they say, "All right, Volkanovski, I want that featherweight title." And Dana, right? You know what? Let's do it in Marvel Stadium. McGregor versus Volkanovski.
On that note, what's your? If you could be matchmaker, what is the one dream fight that you would make to this day, right now?
Is it past and present? Anything?
Oh no, I mean it has to be realistic. Like it could still be done. Like active fighters.
I'll start with the fantasy one. No matter what you say about where they're at right now, that's a fight that I always want to watch and see how it panned out. Is Khabib versus Tony. I want to see that fight. I know Tony's dropped off since then, but it's something so if I could go back in time, that's a fight that will make sure that Tony doesn't trip, right? But other than that, a crazy fight that I would like to see, and this is it. I'm very realistic, and it's actually realistic for this year. I'd like to see Yuri Prokashka, obviously, provided he wins the title in June. All respect to the champ, Glover. But if he wins the title, I would like to see Yuri versus Israel Adesanya for the light heavyweight title, right? I think Adesanya is another great fighter who's doing a lot of good things, and that second title is going to solidify his legacy, right? So I'd like to see that. I just feel like it's a fight for the purists. Two extremely great martial artists. That's what they are. They're pure martial artists. And it's just going to be a striking masterclass. And I think I'd love to watch that fight. For me, I guess I'll put that as number 1, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, it would be Hamza Chimaev versus Conor McGregor.
Oh, man. That's going to be a bad fight for McGregor. Yeah. Oh, you never know, right?
Welterweight, he's beefing up.
Yeah, actually.
Probably close second, it's got to be John Jones versus Israel.
Yeah, that's
or Ngannou.
John Jones and Ngannou, just bring John Jones back. I just stage I'm ready.
What's he doing? Still in jail?
Word is that he wants to come back and fight in June, July, and they're gonna get
Singapore.
They're gonna get the king of Modelo, Stipe, versus John Jones for the interim title. Is what the words on the street, but you never know.
Okay,
they keep changing, but that'll be a good fight. I mean, it takes the interim title, then you just wait for Ngannou to come back, and then we have that big fight that we've been wanting.
One small letdown just on the Singapore thing. Like the local time.
What time?
6 a.m.
No Modelo's for you the previous night.
So I'll be literally, I don't know whether to stay up all night and go there, but 6 a.m. and the prelims will start.
Yeah.
So the early prelims or whatever. So the main card will probably start by 9 a.m. So I'll be awake.
So it doesn't affect our timing here. It's not the same thing.
Asia's 2 hours behind us. So it's how we're sort of like midday-ish, 11 a.m.
Yeah, that's usually when
it's going to be like 9 a.m.
Man, we never get to watch a Saturday night fight. It's so disappointing, But if they ever come to another country, they need to respect that time zone. You know what I mean?
I know, yeah.
Like we were watching
not just do it for the US. Yeah, let them wake up.
Yes, I understand it's their biggest pay-per-view market, but still, let's let them have a midday fight for once. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to have I would have loved that Whittaker Adesanya fight at night.
Yeah.
You watch the fight and you go for some bevies afterwards. It's just like in the middle of Sunday and it's still hot, and you want to go home and sleep. Well. Anyway.
All right.
It was good catching up.
Yeah, great recap. Great, a lot more to chop up. This season, this year is just getting started with fights. We've got the Tyson Fury, Dylan White, April. Look out for that. We've got Kambosos, Haney. There'll be more on that to tap.
And until we catch you in another episode, that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.
Peace.